I
It's
just got
it's night
into.
in Singapore, Benny. Could you not be timist and respect Singapore's local time zone?
Yeah, I thought didn't daylight
Yeah.
hours hit today? Shouldn't that changes things a
Oh,
bit?
is that today? No way.
No,
Wait,
no,
what time is it?
not today.
That's next week, right?
Things have changed. Our Monkey Monday time changed for me. Somewhere, something is happening.
Somewhere.
Hello, everybody. We'll get started in a couple minutes. Hang out and vibe.
Oh, Jemmy already put in the announcement in the collective too. You are the best, Jemmy.
Yeah, just having to spam wherever we need to.
There's the post about what the heck's happening today.
Alrighty, here we go.
Very excited. I don't think. Well, yeah, I know you've been doing more presentations recently, Simon, but I don't think I've seen you do like a Discord web online one, just in person.
No, this is brand new. I even made my own little special deck just for this experience. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll all learn together. Thank you for coming, Cersei. Hi, Moon. Good morning. How are the goats and the sheep and the chickens on the farm today?
And the pigs especially.
And the pigs. The pigs especially cold.
They're
Yeah,
all
they're
cold.
cold, I bet. It was 2 degrees when I biked over to the office this morning, Cersei. I wore a toque. That's a beanie for you non-Canadians, and gloves and a scarf and a jacket on the bike. Oh God,
Is it gonna?
I'm getting pings.
Is it snowing in Canada yet? Does it snow?
Oh yeah, parts of it. Oh yeah,
-2. Jesus Christ, that's insane.
Celsius for you Americans again.
Yeah, that's.
Kyle, Benny.
Okay, no need to call us out over here, right?
Please use Fahrenheit. Um, no, there's a Discord mod for that. We'll talk about Discord mods today during the session. The art of community building. Who chose that title? Because it's kind of a contentious title.
Contentious. I felt like it is an art. It's not a science. It's something that takes
Mm,
creativity and personality and good looks. So when I
mm.
was thinking of the title and I was thinking of hosts, it all kind of lined up.
Who do I complain to about the graphic? Um, it's not really up to
Mm,
the quality that I'm looking for.
mm, mm. I'm I
Uh,
will take
mm,
I'll take the blame. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I didn't make it, but I will take the brunt force.
now
Wait,
this is what we call leadership.
yeah, exactly. Okay, we're 5 minutes in. I think people will probably start slowly flowing in, hopefully. But I do want to make sure you have enough time, Simon. So, for anyone unfamiliar, Simon's about as OG as it gets when it comes to MonkeDAO, the community, even executives too. I don't know. I don't think you were on the original exec team, Simon. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the very first few, right?
The very first board was a 2 month duration board. That was November and December in 2021. I was not on that one specifically, and then I started in January of 2022. Technically speaking,
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
yeah.
Simon's been around forever, and he was the first person I spoke to when I came into MonkeDAO. I jumped into voice chat, and he hopped in and was very friendly. And got to be honest, probably one of the main reasons that I'm still in MonkeDAO and have been so active. So And I know a lot of the Build with MonkeDAO grantees and incubatees are currently focusing on building their community. They've had seeker campaigns. They've had a lot of people coming in and out of their Discord and Telegrams, and it just kind of made sense to guide them through that process of not only setting up those channels, but also learning how to manage and empower their community members. So, with all that being said, I'd love to pass it off to the very, very handsome monkey, Super Simon himself. Woo!
Awesome. Thanks for the amazing intro, Benny. And good to see everybody in the audience. A nice, cozy session today. If you do have any questions throughout the thing, just pop them into the chat. I got the chat open beside me while I'm running through kind of this presentation deck. It is very, I want to say, more of like an inspirational, motivational perspective speech in a way. And then if we have any specifics, we can talk about them in the Q&A section at the end or along the way. GM Leaky, good for you to be here. I like the VR monkey. Today we are going to be talking about the art of community building and what makes a community thrive and how to build one that lasts. There's a lot of opinions about this from many different people. And you're going to see a lot of themes throughout the talk today where TLDR, it depends, and there's no like one size fits all for building a community, especially within Web3. This is Monkey Foundry Sessions, episode number 4. There's 3 other episodes of this. If you want to check them out, there is the Monkey Foundry Twitter account. If Benny could link that in the chat right now, that'd be great. Okay, start off. Just going to talk a bit about what we're going to run through today. We'll start with my experience, kind of give you my background, maybe leak some Simon lore that has never really been explained to a few people. I'm going to talk about how variable community building is and how much it depends, and how I'm going to say it depends many times. We're going to talk about how size matters, technicals and platforms that go into community building. So this is like the more of like, what kind of platforms you should be using on, focusing on at what times, where you should be dedicating most of your energy to building a community or being a community member. Talk about the qualities required to run a community. So this is for yourself if you're thinking of running one, or what you should be looking for if you're looking to hire somebody to run a community. Talk about luck and how it's involved in everything. And then we talk about how community is the byproduct of good work and not the goal. Then we'll have some Q&A. I hope everybody's following along quickly here. I have the stream is up and running. It should be running at 60 FPS, high quality PDF for you, just for you. Worked really hard on this. Let me know. Give me feedback. Only 60 FPS. I know, Kyle. It's Canada. The whole Canada region is stuck at 60 FPS. We don't have internet fast enough to support 120 countrywide. So my apologies. Real sorry about that. 240, go to US. No comment. I'm not going to start a comment war on the US for my Canadian. My experience. So a bit of background. I worked as a geophysicist doing exploration for kind of mining companies. And what this meant was I would travel to extremely remote parts of the world for long periods of time with a very small group of people. So typically it would be a 5 to 10 person crew. We would be in the jungles of China or the Andes in Peru, the northern tips of Quebec, so in the Arctic, and the mountains of BC, or in the deserts of Arizona, where I'd wave to Benny as I was walking around the desert. Hi, Chrissy, GM, thank you for coming. Fancifully late, but that's okay. Better late than never. And the reason why this is important, because this basically taught me how to organize a community, and you kind of think about how does that work? How does that function? Because if you take 5 to 10 people who don't really know each other, never worked together before, from completely different backgrounds, yes, they have that unifying thing where they are a geophysicist or a geologist or geotechnical of some sort, and you're all there to have a goal. You have a timeline, you have a budget, you have a certain production rate that you want to hit over the day. But in these places, like you're stuck with each other. We would sleep in tents in with each other, or we'd all have our own separate tent, or we'd have a trailer. We would work together all day. It's 12 to 14-hour days. If you're awake, you're working. Sometimes you would cook breakfast together and cook dinners together. And after a while, you start to share a bond and share an experience, or sometimes you don't necessarily get along with people, and you can start to see kind of fractures and cracks in the social dynamic of these small groups of people. And what you can learn from that is how do you put yourself aside and understand the social dynamics of the small crew and manage the relationships and support each other's mental strength, physical strength, when to kind of look out for one another, and how do you kind of support the social dynamic of the crew and move forward. So if you combine that with, this is a picture of me with a little geophysical backpack on, hiking through. I think this was in BC, actually near Kamloops, if you know where that is. I know Moon Settler does. And also, I was a children of the 90s and 2000s. So I spent a lot of time with online communities. So Reddit was huge in the 2010s. It is, well, obviously very, very big now, but it's quite a different beast. Twitch, I used to watch it when it was Justin TV before it was called Twitch. Tons and tons of YouTube for a long time, since 2006, even before 2004. And so I've kind of learned about different backgrounds of these online communities, how they were managed, how the content and moderation was done. How did you moderate a subreddit? What was the appropriate reactions? How were people reacted to bad moderation, to good moderation? What was a good community? What was a bad community? How did memes and culture really help facilitate these kind of community activations? Online group chats from all the different platforms where online group chats happen. How kind of big group chats fracture into smaller group chats. And I think a big one for me for learnings was Twitch, because you kind of have this one streamer who's got this one goal to play this game, or play a genre, or play the new releases. And that's like the unifying aspect around the community. And a lot of the community just hangs out in the stream to watch the stream, but there's also, like, maybe 10%, 5% of the people that are watching interact in the group chat. And having that group chat be active and supportive and helpful, or to have it be spicy or aggressive, like that created the culture and the community around the streamer and what they're presenting. And I started to learn about how it's a lot more fun, a lot more engaging to watch a streamer when there's an active community chat going on, and interacting with those people and building relationships with those people in the chat. And you're there for one reason, is just to enjoy the content, but the community supports the kind of the ecosystem around that streamer and around that content. And that same thing can be applied to any sort of platform or service, or like something of enjoyment for users, or for the community. So that's my experience and background. And then I'm not even touching on the Web3 stuff. This is all kind of pre stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about it depends. There is no one size fits all for starting, growing, and maintaining a community. There's no cut and dry, this is what you do, this is the milestones you should reach. All I can do is to kind of share my experiences, share my stories and my knowledge, and hope that maybe you take 2 or 3 lessons from here and apply it to your own functions in a community, and hopefully you can build a fruitful and better community around whatever core kernel content that you're creating. It could be a Flojo drink that people enjoy. It could be a pixelated monkey JPEG that people like to have as their PFP. And all those are completely different pathways to building a community. Talk about size matters. So when it comes to building a community, there is one thing that's for certain, is that when it starts, it's going to be small. So I'm talking about the small 10-person group chats, 10-person supporters up to 100-person supporters. These are like you can see a username and recognize it and know which person that is. And these are kind of like you're going to keep it very, very focused. It's going to be one small Telegram group chat. You do not need a Discord if it's only 10 of you. And having a Discord if it's only 10 of you makes it feel like you have rented out a massive Walmart warehouse to play what's that Nerf darts, It's like, well, there's 10 of you that you want something smaller. You want to adjust the environment to the community. Yes, a massive Walmart warehouse would be amazing to play darts or Nerf guns in, but you want to bring 1,000 people to that, not 10. Yeah, FloJo was mentioned, of course. And then when you scale to 1,000 people, like that changes things. When you scale to 10,000 people, that definitely changes things even more. And you kind of become different scales of a community, and you want to kind of focus on different platforms, different operational overheads. Moderation, team sizes are all different. The culture changes quite a bit, and you need to be able to adapt to the new culture. Where I would say like MonkeDAO is kind of more on the 1,000 community side of things. I think we have like about 3,000 verified in the Discord, um, but the Telegram group has 600 verified people in the Telegram group. So we're between 600 to 3,000 verified users that are active online. And with that comes its own challenges. You do have fractured communities. I think once you scale to 10,000, you're going to see that like part of your community exists in Discord only, part of your community exists in Twitter only. Maybe they have like a Twitter community group chat. Part of it wants Telegram, and you just start kind of like covering a lot more aspects of the communications. It's difficult because you kind of feel like you're constantly trying to force people back together. Otherwise, you're spreading yourself too thin across too many platforms, and then it scales to like 100,000 user base. And this is a completely different beast. And I personally don't really have that much experience as a community leader at that scale. I think you could probably see that with a lot of the large protocols on Solana. So I would say, something like Phantom, massive, massive, massive user base. How do they manage that community? It's like if you start digging around Phantom, where are they most active? How do they properly like corral all of these people to do certain activations? How do they reach people? Do they do certain community-based activations? You could see like even MonkeDAO, which is like 1,000-person community, is 10 times more active in person than the Phantom community, which is hundreds of thousands of users. So you really want to like make sure you're curating your efforts and your mental mind space to how the community scales and reacts to kind of your content. Canada almost has 100,000 people, I think. Thanks, Benny. Thanks for that one. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not going to say anything bad about Arizona or the states during this call. It is being recorded. Once we turn off the recording, that's when the spice comes out. Let's talk a little bit about the technicals and the platforms. I think we all know that ICT, crypto Twitter, is the uniting language of Web3. Even like the smallest of cabals have some sort of X presence. Having a Twitter account should be the absolute first thing that you do, even just to grab it, because I think the join date that's on every single profile of X, really matters when people are looking at your content or looking at your project, and earlier the better for that. Even the product launches in like fall of this year, if I go to it and I see that they created the account in the spring, then I know that they've been planning this for 6 months, and that gives a lot more prestige than if the Twitter account was created the same month that the announcement of the product or the project comes out. So definitely do that as quickly as possible. Telegram exists. A huge amount of the Web3 community transitioned from Discord to Telegram in the 2022 to 2023 era, primarily because I think there's a shift between NFT communities to to meme coin communities. And I think a lot of Discord communities fractured during the 2022 crash and bear market, where they didn't want to hang out in a Discord with a few hundred people or maybe a couple thousand people. They had already built their relationships. They had already built their friendships. They knew who they felt was valuable, and they kind of created their own Telegram group to kind of communicate and share information and share alpha. So these communities fractured into Telegram groups and also these massive, meme coin spam groups were also created. So Telegram is great for basically all scales of a community. I shouldn't say it's great. It's good, but there's a lot of problems with Telegram. And Discord is a key step, but it also depends. I would not recommend people use Discord unless they know that they have a specific reason for using it. If you have a very large community and you have a massive inbound of problems or requests or like really serious contacts, or you need to create ticket systems basically like to manage your platform, then go for it. But creating a Discord just because you're like, oh, if I create a Discord, I'm going to create a community. That's actually it can be a bad look for you if you have a Discord that looks like it's like a dead wasteland with like, you scroll up and there's like 3 comments a day and you see the dates every day. It's like not much is going on. It kind of looks bad. It's better to have no Discord than that. So like scale your Discord usage based off of your community size and the goal of the community. If it's purely functional, I think a lot of platforms who require like dev support have Discords because it's a really good way to organize that. But if you're just like a community who's around a product or a service and it's smaller, like just focus on X and focus on Telegram. I think there's a lot of other platforms that you can also use. Depending on, again, it depends depending on your platform, depending on your service. You can use Instagram. There's a lot of CT that has moved to Instagram lately. LinkedIn is also taking off the past 6 months to a year for Web3 LinkedIn is getting some serious traction. If you're kind of a more professional project or service and you're kind of creating a serious community around that, I would definitely recommend using LinkedIn. It's high value, high return. TikTok, I'm a boomer. I don't have it. I don't use it. I know some people do use it. Good for them. If it's for like memes and shorts and content, you can probably create some stuff for Instagram and also transcribe it to TikTok. I'm sure that a lot of people do that. Email is also high value, I think. Not for me personally, but having a list of emails where you can send an email blast, even if it's just once a month, like don't spam people. I think that's one thing I may have forgotten to put into this deck is notification fatigue. Remind me at the end to talk about that because that's a very, very serious thing when dealing with communities and dealing with announcements. But yeah, if you have an email list, 100 emails, 1,000 emails, it's a really, really good step to have with your CRM. If your community is small enough, create a CRM. Start like tracking the usage of your platforms. Understand all of your users, gather as much data about them as you can, as much as they want to share. It could be Telegram, Discord, X, email, general region of where they go and where they come from. Do they travel a lot? To start to like really build that, I think investors really like to see that if you're kind of looking to raise soon. It also kind of helps you track the growth and the shrinkage of your community. There's high value in creating a CRM, or even just start with like a Google spreadsheet and start like adding to it. You can always use Airtable or HubSpot later if you really grow into that. But that's pretty later on in growing the community. Mods and bots. This is contentious again, and again, it depends, which is why I put as of October 27th, 2025. It changes all the time. There's new features coming out, new mods get outdated, bots get outdated. The community grows and changes. I'd say generally, use as few as possible. For Discord, I would say, use Me6 or Dino. In MonkeDAO, we have both for very, very specific reasons. Most people can just get Me6 or Dino and be fine for most of the time. I would focus on security and communication. It is very easy to get quickly like overstuffed with these bots. You think, oh, I'm going to add more bots. It can do this cool thing. Oh, it can track this feature. Oh, it can display this extra thing. Don't turn into MySpace. It's less is better. Have clear branding, clear guidelines. Don't overstimulate visually. Oh, this one user wants me to add this bot which tracks the price of Sol at a specific spot in the Discord. Don't do that. It's if they want if that user wants to watch this, the price of Sol, they have 1,000 other places to watch it. It doesn't need to be in your Discord about ponies, right? Like just focus on your platform, focus on your content, focus on your service, and say, is this valuable to direct my users towards the core reasons that we have this platform? Friendster was the best. I liked Napster, ICQ. It was great time. And even Nexopia, if you were Canadian. So there's no perfect solution for Telegram for mods and bots. Personally, I've talked to the foundation about this, what kind of mods and bots they've used for like all the official Solana accounts. TLDR, the real scammers will find a way around all of the bots. So there's almost no point in having them. In some of I think one of the highest advantages that you can do is to have require approval. If your community is small enough that you don't have that many inbound community members, you can manually, suss out their accounts and add them to your group chat on Telegram. If you feel like they're not likely to be a scammer, there's going to be a few that filter through. But what this does is that when you go to sleep at night, nobody's mass joining your Telegram group with a massive scam bot and spamming your chat. You know that there's only people being allowed into the group when somebody clicks a button to allow them into the group. It kind of helps a lot. And avoid threads in Telegram if possible. I think Telegram, if your Telegram is so big that you have multiple topics or threads or whatever you want to call them, I think that really kills the point of having a Telegram, which is just it's a group chat. And this is my personal take. Some people like to have those threads. I think if you feel like you're a large enough community where you have to segregate the conversations, go to Discord. The Telegram thread thing, I think you lose just a lot of the natural organic community interaction if you do that. Unless your Telegram group is an announcement, Telegram group, and it's only you and the team posting things, and you just want to separate the announcements or whatever, sure. But that's a pretty niche usage and situation. Rose is one bot that can be used for Telegram. If I was to recommend one bot, it's not great though, because there's no admin. It's not like Discord. There's no admin platform or easy way to kind of track things or to integrate it across a bunch of different groups. You can't really. You have to kind of interact with the chat itself to turn settings on and off. It's not really super easy, but you can block links most of the time. Randomly links get through, and the scammer can get through links through no problem. So it's kind of difficult to manage. But TLDR, use as few mods and bots as possible, and manual moderation is great. But automating a lot of the communications is really helpful. I think in the MonkeDAO Discord, one thing that helped a lot for a long time has been the commands. I think we have 500 commands. So I don't know. I think Cersei has one. Let's use one for Cersei. This was a community building thing to make people feel seen in the Discord, was giving each person their own special little command. But that had to happen organically. You can't just go in and force these kind of fun things to happen. It required somebody who's chronically online to kind of interact with the community, grab these little bites, and create them when the community was active. I see Web3 Precious doesn't have one yet. it will be coming. We'll see. The last thing, I think one of the last things I want to talk about is the qualities required to run a successful online/IRL community. If you are looking to be one yourself or you're looking to hire someone, this is like what you should be looking for. That's my first meme that I made in MonkeDAO. That was my purpose. That's actually Arpy, one of the co-founders of MonkeDAO. That's his PFP. This is the first meme I made. You can see how bad it was because I didn't even know how to like remove the background of the monkey. I just like screenshotted it and then put it into the meme. And that was great fun. Good time. That started the whole thing with the commands from people. Qualities required. There's one thing people don't talk about. It requires an insane amount of time. You have to be chronically online and available and present in the chats, in the platforms, always available, always responding to pings immediately. Nobody wants to talk to a bot. There's all this hype and hullabaloo of bringing in some sort of AI interaction person thing that people can ask questions to. Sure, great, but from my experience, people want like a trusted community leader username that they know as a person who is there and responding to them, to respond to their requests, their questions, is like a trusted community leader, a name that people can refer to. Thanks, Benny. I don't know if I trust a monkey in a thief's hat with an earring though, so I can't say it's reciprocal. Dedication prioritizes the vibes, doesn't disappear in a month. I think massive turnover in community leaders is probably the biggest thing that kills communities because they want that leader. They want that trusted PFP, that trusted face, that trusted individual, the person that's present. And if you have like a rotation of community leaders all the time, it can show that who do the people go to talk to? How do they get the information? Who do they ping? Who do they trust? I think some turnover of community leaders is good. I think it's healthy as a community to be able to rotate through different people, but not too fast, not too quickly. And you want to make sure that you kind of hire or scale from within, especially when it comes to community. You cannot just hire somebody from the outside, bring them in, and force everybody to know them and to like them and to interact with them. And the person also has like constant attempts to grow. So one thing about a community is if you're not growing, you're dying. There's always turnover in community members or user base. People move on, people change, their routines change, their focus changes as an individual, they move on. You need to constantly be acquiring new community members, otherwise you will die, you will shrink as a community. The person should also have an incredible amount of patience. If they have a short fuse, they are quickly going to burn out and cause drama in the community, and nobody wants a community leader that causes drama. They have the ability to answer questions 100 times a day, the same question, even if you put out a town hall, a newsletter, a town hall TLDR, if you put that TLDR into the newsletter and you put it on Twitter and you force it down people's throats, people still won't read. And you need to have somebody who's available to like spoon feed the information specifically to an individual who only wants to hang out in Gen 2 chat and reads nothing else and will only read anything that is posted in Gen 2 chat. That's an inside joke for anybody who's listening to the recording. Constantly raises the bar while also holding the bar low for others. What does this mean? So when you're building community, you want to make sure that the community is continuing to move forward. The education around the platform or service is kind of like you're raising the education level of your community. They're all knowledgeable about what's going on, what the goals are, what the milestones are, what everybody's working on. But you also need to have somebody who's willing to kind of like hold the bar low for the new members coming in who don't know anything, who don't know what's going on, don't know who to talk to, don't know where to start. So to like constantly be raising the bar while also holding the other bar low for the new members, as that that gap widens, it becomes more and more difficult to manage and maintain. So you need to find somebody who's able to do that. You also need to find somebody Unassuming. Never assumes like the education, language, age, ethnicity, politics, religion, or intentions of the user. There's a lot of trolls in this space, so it's easy to kind of like get caught up in, somebody kind of, wasting your time or coming in answering, asking a stupid question, that kind of stuff. However, there are people who need to ask that stupid question, that basic question that was answered 50 times. And you can't have somebody who always assumes that this knowledge has been acquired by the other users. So you need to find somebody who treats everyone equally, who comes in and say, hey, it's like this is what we're working on. Here's some basic information. Read these resources. They probably won't read them, so you have to spoon feed them anyways. But like never assumes the intentions of the other individual on the other side of the screen. Next up is a little bit selfless. Knows that it's more about the community than themselves. Understands that like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Gonna throw that Star Trek quote in there. I think it's actually the other way around. I might have butchered it. But like understands like you need to kind of move together. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together, and kind of keeps that mindset above themselves. Like, hey, like this is about the community. What's best for the community? What's best for the growth as a whole? Because you really want to make sure that the people are shepherded in the right direction, and also resilient, can withstand relentless onslaught of inbound day after day. Now, the onslaught of inbound may be positive, it may be negative, but after a while, it can get quite daunting. And so, have somebody who's relentless to deal with all of this. I'm a Falcon, probably. I think so. Thanks, Quinn. But these are kind of the qualities you're looking for if you want to be a community leader or to hire somebody looking to lead a community. And the last one is luck. Thanks, Chrissy. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I think it's very, very important for people to read that again. Some people get lucky, and yes, they do get lucky. It's because they've been preparing for years for an opportunity to come, and then they're able to get lucky. So I think this comes with community as well. So you need to kind of build the foundations of your community, prepare for community growth, prepare for growth in specific ways on platforms, in memes, in mods, in channels, in the Discord, in Telegram, in branding. You have to kind of build it and they will come, but you also have to get lucky. Like the opportunity has to happen where you get that massive influx of new community members because of some factor outside of your control, some sort of catalyzing factor that kind of comes in, and you have to be prepared for it. If you're not prepared for it, you're still grabbing some of that opportunity, but not as much as you could have. It could have been 10%, 20% of that opportunity. But you want to be prepared to be able to capture 100% of the upside of that opportunity. So that's definitely one kind of last thing on luck. Oh, this is the last topic. Thank you for listening, everybody. We're like 10:40, so I think I'm doing pretty good. We will do Q&A at the end if there's any questions. We'll probably have 10, 15 minutes for Q&A. The last thing is a good community is the byproduct, not the goal. Don't think about community as the goal. Don't think about, oh, we just need a good community and that's the goal of what we're doing right now is to build the community. I think you need to define your purpose, define what you're doing. Who are you and what are you doing? What are you working on? What's the platform? What's the product? What's the goal? Like figure out what your real intentions are before you build the community. Then like work on that. Work on that thing, work on that company, work on that project, work on that goal, and then nurture the organic community that forms around that purpose. Don't lose sight of the purpose. It's sometimes easy to get caught up in the community and you focus too much on the community, and that kind of removes the foundation of why they're all there in the first place. And then it can quickly get off the rails and you lose control of the community, and the community is no longer about the reason that you started the thing in the first place, and it can kind of become fractured and it's not a great position to be in where your reason and your purpose is completely separated from the community that should be around and supporting that purpose. That's it. Oh, there's one last thing. What was I going to talk about that I said I was going to talk about at the end?
Notification fatigue.
Notification fatigue. Thanks, Benny. Thanks for the reminder. Notification fatigue is like the bane of my existence. Spam and noise in the Web3 space is at an all-time high. People, if somebody mutes your Discord, that's death. If somebody moves your Telegram group to archived, that's death. If somebody unfollows your Twitter account because you've been spamming too much bullshit, that's death. Like, you do not want somebody to mute any of your communication platforms. You don't want somebody to mark your emails as spam. So you need to find a way to make sure you are properly sending out high quality signal, not too much and at different rates. So I think you'll notice that we put out a lot of content and information from MonkeDAO specifically. We have different kind of levels of notifications. So something as routine as Monday Monkey Spotlight or the newsletter. This is every Monday or every Thursday. It's put into the minor announcement. Everyone is tagged in the MonkeDAO Discord. It's also posted in the Telegram, but it's kept as small as possible. It's not pinned anywhere. It's not like overly flooded in front of people's spaces. And then you have the kind of like, and that's great. Like, people just want to be aware of it and want to know about it, and they don't need to be flooded with it. Like, not every single group chat needs to be flooded with a newsletter every single week. Would that help the newsletter get more attention? Yes, for a little while, but then you'd be flooding the notifications and you'd be decreasing the attention on all the other things that MonkeDAO is working on, all the things at Monkey Foundry, all the major quarterly updates that Jemmy puts out. You need to be very, very careful with like anything that's being sent out by other team members as well. How do you filter and deal with notifications, important announcements? All of that needs to be handled very carefully. You need to make sure that somebody is carefully crafting the notifications around all the different platforms, because it's just like, don't do it. Don't over fatigue somebody. If you have important things to say, you need to make sure that you've built up that social capital. You've built up that respect of like, okay, they haven't really notified me in a while. They're notifying me about this massive update. I better pay more attention to it. And you need to build that trust with the community so they know that you're not wasting their time. Because if you're wasting their time with some tiny little, okay, well, hold on. This is where it can become a problem, because some people on different team, okay, some people on the different parts of the team might think that their announcement is a bigger deal than it actually is. And they might, over fatigue some of the community members with what they think is a big deal. But really, you need to make sure that they keep themselves in check. Like, hey, this doesn't need to be flooded into every single group chat. It's just a small thing. Yes, would it help that small thing? Sure, but you'd be taking away from all these other different things that everybody else is working on that you need to push. So that was just my last comment on notification fatigue. We are going to be wrapping up. If anybody has any questions or I missed any questions in the chat, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. Please just repost it. I will start taking questions now. Benny, could you talk for 30 seconds while I take a sip of my coffee?
Yes, yes, of course. So we do have one question from W. How do you resurrect a dead community? And in my mind, it probably connects back to the luck topic that you had, where it's preparation and opportunity kind of coming together. I'm sure that there's been a lot of communities during the bear market that have slowed down, but have since kind of picked things up. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to either resurrect a dead community or capitalize on a new burst possibly from those communities.
Again, it depends. How do you resurrect a dead community? If the community is truly dead, I would say you can't. I think the best thing that you could do is find the core community members that were there who still uphold the values of what you were originally trying to do, and start building a new community with some of the components of the old community. If the community is dead or almost dead and you try to restart it, revitalize it, it's almost like there's a constant weight to it, and starting something new is kind of better. It's like, I don't know, I'm kind of going to relate communities to plants. If you have a wonderful plant, a garden pot plant that's outside or whatever, and it starts to get infected with something, or starts to die, or it was left out in the sun too long, how do you resurrect a plant? There's a couple different ways. You can cut off the dead parts and hope that the new parts come back, or you can splice it. Like, you could take a part of it out and plant it in a new pot. So it's still the same plant, but it's in a new pot. You can do the same thing with the dead community. That's yeah. I don't know why a gardening analogy came up, but I think you gotta foster the plant, continue to have growth. Make sure you're kind of taking care of it, has enough sun, has enough, soil, nutrients, water. I don't know where this plant is coming from. What's the thing on luck there, Benny? What luck?
Something on lock? I'm not too sure. But I do have another
Okay,
question if you're
sure.
on that one. You mentioned adjusting to the community as it grows, as the culture changes, but I hear a lot of early communities or community builders mentioning wanting to foster a specific culture. So how do teams adjust to that, where they maybe have an idea of the type of community they want to build, the type of culture they want to really create and foster, but also needing to adjust to what naturally unfolds as they grow?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Um, how much how much do you let go, and how much do you hold on to when you're trying to drive the community forward? How much do you flex to, like, not flex like arm flex, but like, how flexible are you to adjusting to some community feedback, and the wills and the needs and the wants of a community? And again, that depends. It depends on where you are in the growth of your community. You kind of really, really want to keep it focused if you're a small community. But as it grows, you're going to have more and more people kind of like offshooting into other like subgroups with their own kind of goals and ambitions in mind, what they want. And you need to decide, do you want this kind of subgroup to participate within your main group, or do you kind of want to let that subgroup go off and do its own thing, and it can become its own community? It's difficult because you you don't want to fracture your community. You want to keep it as much together as possible. But if you hold it together too much, then it becomes bloated, and there's too much going on within the main threads and the main channels, and it can become flooded with noise. And you want to make sure that there's high signal to noise ratio within your community. It's a very difficult question to answer, Benny. It depends. And who are you in your platform? How flexible are you as an individual? How much time do you have to, like, manage and maintain these things that were originally outside of your scope of a community? Miss Chrissy asks us a question. Can you give a specific example, purpose/intention, action taken to cultivate specific communities' cultures? Hmm. Chrissy, do you mind coming up on stage and, like, elaborating on what you mean by that? Is that possible? If you're able to speak. How to best manage community norms and guidelines in digital world where social norms may differ quite a bit different across parts of the world. Yeah, that's difficult, Moon. Um, yeah, because the norms in some places are definitely not the same in Western parts of the world, or European parts of the world. They all have different languages, different slang, even different swear words, and some things are more acceptable than others. I think that depends. It depends on what kind of community you want to foster. Is it one that's more um, let's say stringent as like Western culture, or do you want to have it be free flowing, where, like, you don't really care too much about which culture is being represented or not represented in their culture? I think It depends. How best to manage the community norms. What kind of community do you want to foster? It's like, what is it, more friendly or not as friendly towards different bars that have been set by different cultures and countries around the world? Again, it depends. Sorry, Moon. Are you getting a it depends answer? You mentioned you need to define your purpose, define what you want for your culture community. What are ways you fostered this? Define. I think it comes down to the branding and the tools you give to your community. And what I mean by that is, okay, well, let's talk about Flojo for a second, Chrissy, if you want to kind of bring Flojo into the mix. I'd love for you to come on stage if you're possible, because this is much. I'm kind of tired of talking my own voice. Let's talk about Flojo. We can also talk about Luco as well. I have a lot of interesting things to say about Luco. Flojo is, it's a drink. It's a beverage, right? Oh, Chrissy's on stage. Hi, Chrissy.
Hello, thank you. But please, Super Simon, I don't interrupt you. Continue.
Of course. Yeah, because Flojo's a beverage, right? It's nothing, you know, outside of the ordinary for a product to create. And how are you going to create a community around the drink? And you can say Flojo is a lifestyle. You can build different brands around it. You can build different slogans. You can engage with other communities. So maybe the Flojo community itself is just a combination of enjoyers across all these other different communities, which I think you've been doing a great job with all of your support of other communities in Web3. And like that's how you build your community as Flojo enjoyers. Or do you kind of go into, like, the technicals of the drink and the scientific aspects behind it and the drink culture, and you kind of tap into these other, cultures and narratives around, like, the Red Bull has there's extreme sports and funding of events that way. I think Monster's more on, like, the music side, I think. So you can decide, like, where was the narrative behind how Flojo fits into the beverage world be, and then can keep communicating that narrative to your community, because you don't want the community to lose control of what the narrative of Flojo is. So memes, I think, are high value, and finding and giving the tools to your community for them to be able to create their own memes. I think one thing that Claynosaurs did is I think they have, like, a meme kit, and they actually released, like, a wireframe of a few of their animations to their key community members, and so their community members were able to create memes and GIFs and animations around their IP. Now, there was a bit of a double-edged sword with that. Like, they kind of lost the ability to control how the content was created, and they had to adjust some of the rules, like the animation rules they had set themselves, because some of the content that was created was very successful. Some of the content that was created by the community became very successful. So they almost had to, like, incorporate it into their IP, not like as a technical level, but like at, like, an homage to the community that had built some of the memes around the content. Does that answer your question, Chrissy? It's a difficult question.
I think that's a great example. Yeah, I guess not a challenge, but something that we're working on is, for sure, we built Flojo to really uplift our community. That's one of the reasons we're so excited for Flojo. But we also want to bring in, maybe not so front facing, that this is a real product with a lot of intention and science that is behind it too. So kind of like managing these two messages without it, impeding each other.
Yeah, you got two different messages. I'd almost do like a TikTok cycle with your messages if you want. Like, 1 week or 1 month or one time frame focus on the community and the vibes and the memes and the engagement, and then the next cycle focus on the science, the background, the health aspect of it, and like do that for a little while and see what gets picked up by different narratives. And so you kind of maintain both, and you can like accentuate or depreciate different aspects of one of the two going forward. Benny, any other questions in the audience you've seen?
Yes, Moon asked how to foster a community that vibes around different interests, sports, degeneracy, markets, finance, wellness, culture, etc., while still managing the core culture of community. And I think MonkeDAO is a great example. We have all of these miscellaneous kind of group chats or channels, but then there's also obviously a Gen 2 or Gen 3 chat culture. So balancing maybe those different topics.
I love how you say miscellaneous, Benny. I'm going to use that going forward. To answer your question, Moon, it depends. It depends. Because what you're doing when you foster vibes around different interests, sports, degeneracy, markets, finance, wellness, culture, if your community can't support that, then you are fracturing your community too early in the growth. And that can, one, kill it, or two, you're kind of like creating multiple communities too early. It's like multiple different plants too early. You lose the core stem of the plant. Oh my God, here comes another plant fucking analogy. Okay. Um, you want to make sure the core, what's it called? Like the log, what's the trunk? You want your tree trunk to grow nice and strong as long as possible before it fractures into too many branches. I think if you have a big enough community, you can have that branch of sports in your community. You can have that branch of markets and finance in your community, but it needs to be big enough to support and sustain that. You want to make sure the trunk of your community tree is the healthy priority for as long and as big as you want the tree. If maybe you want a small shrub, that's fine. You can create like a small tree by continuously trimming off the main trunk and kind of fostering the branches early on, or you want this massive tree that overarches over everything, and you really need to make sure it has a really strong trunk as long as possible. Support the branches, exactly. Yeah, I'm loving this analogy. Yeah, my branch can fall down and smash the ground. Thanks, Cersei. I'm gonna use your meme. There you go. Yes. There you go.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
we are at the end of the hour here. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. This is recorded. We will get this on YouTube and also be cutting up clips for the Monkey Foundry Twitter that will 100% be retweeted and engaged on by the Super Team Canada account. So super excited for that. Um, Thank you everyone for hanging out. One last question. For teams trying to grow a genuine community overlap, what is the best way to start collaborations with other projects? How do you make it feel authentic and worthwhile for both communities? And then we'll close up the sessions here.
Thank you very much for having me, Benny. And good to see you all. Thank you for coming. Hopefully it was productive for everybody involved.
Yes, yes. Do you want to touch on Keyboard Yeti's question before we close up the session here?
For teams trying to grow genuine community overlap, what is the best way of starting collaborations with other projects? How do you make it feel authentic and worthwhile for both communities? Give before you ask. That is probably the best thing, is like if you're trying to create true partnerships, support them first without an ask. Don't come in with an ask without even knowing them. Everybody's trying to grow. Everybody's trying to capture eyes, capture community. Make sure you understand what their goal is. Help them first, and then try to figure out how whatever you're working on can help them as well, and try to find like a mutually beneficial partnership. It is very difficult, especially now during this time in in the markets. There's a lot of noise, a lot of requests for partnerships, a lot of requests for retweets. I think Flojo and Luco have done an excellent job of this recently. They show big support for some of the key communities and don't ask too much in return, and they build that trust with the other communities and other platforms. I think building trust is the most important thing. And once you maintain that trust, it takes time. It takes months to build trust. It shows that people that you're there for the right reasons. You're not there for a quick turnaround. Then people will start paying a bit more attention to you and want to work with you because they know that when they work with you, it's a mutually beneficial experience. And if also Cersei does an amazing job with all of the partnerships and marketing in MonkeDAO, and she manages so much inbound. I have no idea how she does it, but she balances it all. She does a great job.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and hanging out. Like I said, this will be posted on the Monkey Foundry YouTube account. We'll have clips coming out, and make sure you're following the Monkey Foundry Twitter. Big stuff coming up. Thank you, the very handsome Super Simon, definitely my oldest friend in Web3. Super excited to have you come up and share all of your incredible, incredible experiences. If anyone has any other questions or anything like that, Simon's always available. That's part of being community lead, as he just learned. So feel free to throw it in the Gen 2 chat, Gen 3 chat, normal chat, wherever you want. But with all that being said, we'll see you in an hour at Monkey Talks on the MonkeDAO Twitter. So see you all very soon.
Thanks, everybody.